See, I just think that, the one person who proved you can walk away from the WWE is Shane McMahon. I mean, even Vince's flesh and bones son said, screw it, I'd rather be a sports agent than be, eventually, take over. But when Steph married Hunter, it was like, crap, I'm going to be European champion. I'm going to do all these secondary shit. And it's like, I'm not going to be the boss here when dad decides to retire. It's going to be ridiculous. But, I mean, do you think you can make the parallel between Triple H booking WWE to what Stevie said before, the weekly TNA pay-per-views with Jeff Jarrett? Do you think wrestling goes in cycles, will always have someone pulling the strings, being the Hunter? Jeff could never get beaten TNA for a few years back in the day. Do you think, it's going to be someone else in 5 years? Maybe Cena will be a Super Cena again?
See, here's the thing, though, and this is what makes Hunter different than everybody else. Yeah, I could see that. I could see it being Cena. I could see it being somebody like that. There's always been kind of that overriding champion of the company. Everybody's kind of had it. WWF had Hogan and WCW had Flair, and you talk to the people who were there, and Flair was on top and da-da-da. But what always separated Hogan and Flair from a guy like Triple H, and even to a certain extent Jeff Jarrett, although I think long-term he just decided, I'd let other people play for a bit. Hunter's always going to be there now. And that's kind of the difference. Like, Hogan could leave. Hogan may have been in Vince's ear, but you could be in somebody's ear, and that's fine. Hunter's in his family pictures. You know what I mean? Like, there's a big difference between the two of them. He's going to be there for the long haul. And that's always kind of what worried me, too, was that once it started being about his family, once Vince stepped out from behind the microphone and he stopped being an announcer, once his daughter became a character and his son became a character, and they all started having fun with it, and Linda was a character, and all these people were characters, they started to enjoy what they were doing, that by having Hunter now in the family as a character who is a family member on TV now too, I think he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the Babe Ruth of the company. He's going to come out and swing for the fences when they need him to, and he's going to kind of bill himself as that. No matter who it is, no matter who's the top guy in WWE or TNA or whatever, it's always going to come down to Triple H as long as he's able to walk, I think. And even after that, maybe be one of his kids or nephews or cousins, or definitely going to be a family thing for a long time to come.
Well, another thing about Triple H, it really pisses me off, is he keeps on burying the talent over and over again who has maybe a slight push, or maybe, it's like we talked about off air, the Goldberg deep push. Hell, you could put Goldberg, Scott Steiner, Booker T, Batista, Orton. The list goes on and on. I mean, it's just once like Goldberg had a little bit of push, a little bit of momentum, that was it. And what did they do? Was it 2 weeks into his debut into WWE? They made him wear a stupid wig.
Well, it's like they signed him for the wig. They were like, oh, we got him. Now we can put him in a wig. Thank God. He's done it to a lot of people, though, man. Like, even people who aren't even being pushed, just to be not rude, but to be mean-spirited, almost like this be a bully campaign nonsense. The Spirit Squad, when I interviewed Kenny, the last appearance they had, they put him in a box and put OVW on it, which is like this little inside joke that's going to pop, 25% of your audience? Why? So you can humiliate these guys on TV after you used them? Chris Masters, the guy was bloated, right? He comes back from his wellness suspension. He looks like a deflated tire because he's trying to get himself in shape and get off the juice. When I interviewed him, I said to him, how did you feel when Hunter turns to you after you return from this, this slim down that you did, and says to you, what are you going to do? You're going to teach everybody how to lose 30 pounds in 2 months or something. Remember, he made some sort of off-color comment about his physique. And he said,
Is it the stack of dimes comment?
No, that was Vince to Randy Orton when Orton hadn't been working out. Chris Masters came back after he'd been really bloated the first time around with Cena, and they had done a run with them. And he came back, he had the goatee, and he had really slimmed down a lot. And he did some sort of segment on TV with Triple H where he was supposed to come in, it was on Raw, and he was supposed to say something to the effect of I could teach somebody something, or something about teaching somebody something. And Hunter goes, what are you going to teach everybody how to do? Drop 35 pounds in 2 months? And everyone's like, oh. And meanwhile, he had dropped all that weight because he got off of whatever he was doing that was giving him, the muscle mass. And it's like you watch something like that play. Like, what's this guy supposed to do? He's supposed to do steroids so you don't make fun of him on TV, and then you're going to fire him for doing steroids? And it's things like that. And these guys got to keep their mouths shut. And it's always existed. There's always been hazing and mean-spirited stuff. But with stuff like this, I sometimes feel like, Dr. Heine with Jim Ross, it's like it makes you uncomfortable to watch how they treat some of the talent, because at the end of the day, these guys go back, after their WWE careers are over. Some of them don't have anything. They have to get a job outside of the business. And here's a guy who doesn't live the kind of lifestyle that they live. mocking them on TV, and they can't do anything about it. It's kind of rough to see sometimes.
Now, we do have a question from the AngryMarks.com/chat, and King J is asking, Hunter's been in power for a while and has been moving people into positions. Do you think he'll become Vince on screen?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think he's already doing it now. I think it's been – he likes the suit. He likes to play every role. And that's, and again, I don't want to sit here and bash Triple H, but I think a lot of us as fans, we watch it play out and we see it. You think to yourself, all right, look – if I were to marry the boss of the most powerful wrestling executive in the world, what would I do? And all those things you think of are things that this guy has done already or is currently doing. He's done the title hunt. He's done the top bad guy. He's done the top good guy. The last 5 years, here's one for you that nobody really brings up. The Undertaker. His streak at WrestleMania is the big deal of WrestleMania, right? That's like the whole focal point. It's even bigger than the world title match. For the last 5 years, it's been either Hunter or Shawn Michaels. It's been Hunter, Michaels, and then Hunter had him at 17. So it's five out of those 20 years, it's been the Click, wrestling Undertaker. In the last 4 years, it's only been them. So, you watch it play out and you say to yourself at a certain point, everything this guy wants to do, he's going to do. He wants to be on TV. He's not going to be able to wrestle on TV forever. And even now, he's starting to do the retirement and, I'm the boss or whatever. He's gonna be the Vince McMahon at a certain point. He'll always be the chairman who, when he has to come out of retirement to, beat somebody up, he's going to beat him up. He's not going to be one of those chairmen who gets beat up and has to hide behind John Cena. That's not going to happen. But, definitely. Hunter's going to be a TV character for forever.
Now let's step away from Hunter for a second. There's a question I'm dying to ask, and it has to do with social media. What do you think of this whole, trending worldwide on Twitter, and of course everyone's favorite newest platform, Tout?
Tout. Yeah, I love Tout. I don't use Tout. I don't know, man. When it comes to Twitter and Facebook and things like that, I guess you have to. Everybody does it now. Half of these TV shows, they have the hashtags in the corner and the @ sign and things like that. I don't know. I use Twitter once in a while. I go on there. I'll put something funny that I do or whatever. But WWE really, they kind of obsess about it. I don't know. I don't think it's going to last that long because eventually it's going to be something else is going to come along and that's going to be the big thing. It used to be MySpace. I think for a while they were pushing a little too hard. Maybe not as hard now, which is good. I think Tout is a good thing for them because they're trying to fill space on Raw. So if you guys can tout your thoughts and send it to them, then they actually make the fans become the filler, which is, that's just genius, right there. You guys can become the bathroom breaks. How about that? We'll make you do it. You could piss during your own segments. I guess they're doing well with it as long as they don't overdo it. But it's a necessary evil, I think, today in entertainment.
All right. One last thing before I toss over to Stevie. And, I always ask some sports questions for our guests. And we're going to do our NFL pick, and we're going to start this season on this week's show. But who are you cheering for, the Jets or the Giants?
Typically, I cheer for the Giants. Yeah, whenever I'm out here in New York, I don't watch football as much as I wish I would. But I've always been the Giants fan when I do watch it.
Are there any other sports you watch?
I watch a little bit of everything, man. Wrestling takes up so much of my time. I like to quote, I don't know if I can curse on here or not, but
you can.
I could get Tom Pritchard, man. I love Dr. Tom. He was the first columnist we had on the site, first show that we had on the thing, and he wrote the foreword in my second book. And he gave me the best quote because I talked to him one time about TNA had signed a baseball player, AJ Brzezinski, and I said, "Oh, the AJ from the White Sox, you know the guy?" And he goes, "Nah, I only like the fake shit." I was like, all right, that's perfect, man. I'm going to use that. And people ask me, I watch sports. I like sports, but I just don't have the time to follow anything on a regular basis. I wish I did because, when I watch it, I like it, but it's just a matter of sitting down to do it.
It's one thing I was actually saying to Peter the other day was I'm actually glad that I got into a fantasy football league because it helps take me away from the wrestling and make me actually focus on football because I have to care. I have to know how each guy is doing each week. I have to devote to it the way I devote to wrestling or else my fantasy team sucks. So it forces me to pay more attention to something other than wrestling.
I'll tell you, man, you may have just turned me on to fantasy football. Like, I always go on these little tirades because, like, for example, my friends, my wife has a friend, her husband is, not really a wrestling fan. So, I think wrestling's kind of stupid. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to do fantasy football next weekend. I'm like, really? I'm like, wrestling can be stupid, but I've never sat around with my friends fantasizing about it. So why don't you have fun with that? So if you don't like wrestling, then you better not like fantasy football. But if you like wrestling, then it's okay. Then I'm all right with it. You can like both or neither. But, yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. I might have to do that, kind of get my head out of this a little bit.